Sorry for being a little bit late due to the technical glitches. But we'll start with the third of our Meet the Titan series. First two we had was Jain, PraveenJain. Format was a little different. Then we got a lot of positive feedback, and they said we want to know more about a person from the beginning. So then we said, okay, we'll change the format, and with the help of Nikunj and Kamleshji, we came up with a set of questions to be asked. And then we said, this is how we are going to do it. And so next 1 hour, the way we are going to do it is, everybody will get a chance to ask a question. We will just get more into every walk of life of Praveenji, and then we will open up the floor to ask the question. Thank you so much for making it today. So far I've seen him running around the temple, doing the work. This is the first time I'm seeing him sitting, so it's a pleasure. Thank you for having us here. So, I've always called him uncle. This is the first time I'll be calling him Praveen, so excuse me, and then we'll make it up for later. Okay. Okay, so Praveen ji, let's start from the beginning, because you are an entrepreneur, you're a big guy today, people look upon as the guy where I want to reach, but you were a kid always. Let's talk about the early life. How did it start? And because I've seen you a transformation I've been seeing you from last 13 years, series over series entrepreneurship, McAfee CMO, and then Jovial Data, and then now Rate Sale. But let's talk about what is Praveen Jain was when he was in early childhood. Let's talk about your mom, dad, and what made it happen.
Okay, but that's a long loaded question, but before that, technical glitches, we have heard that earlier too, for the delays. I think just to go back to the question that you're asking, just to preface that, came to this country in 1975, landed in New York, like most others, but the difference was when we landed here, at least I had no idea what America is. And that led to the start of my journey in this country. Started out difficult. The day I landed, I had $7 in my pocket, and I lost all my baggage. And I had to go from JFK to Cincinnati, and that is when I knew this is going to be hard, but interesting life. And as you can see, and we'll talk through it over the next hour or so, had issues, had interesting turns and lefts and rights, ups and downs, but it has been an amazing life in this country. I've met amazing people, have been able to associate with just unique, exciting projects, including building of this Jain Bhavan. I consider myself most fortunate to have been able to do that, have been volunteered to do that. So it's been very exciting. I want to thank all of you for making time today and come over here to listen to some of the things I have to say. Coming back to your question on early childhood, don't know much before 6 years old, but around 6 or 7, my father passed away. And after that, pretty much we were on our own. My eldest brother was 16 at that time. Mother was completely uneducated. So it became the responsibility of the family to hold each other together, go through the tough times, and come out in a positive way from the tough times. After my father passed away, I saw, and I don't know how that happened. The day he passed away to a week later, there was immediate sort of shift in my personality that I cannot fathom why that happened. As an example, after my father's news, I was in, I think, KG or first grade. I went back to school, and my teacher asked me, why didn't you come for 4 days to the school? And I casually said, my father died, so I didn't go. I didn't even know what that meant. But then, when you have rough times, when you resolve to do the right things happen. So my early childhood, just because you asked the question, I want to share it, not even probably my sons, they don't know some of the things I'm going to talk about. I went to a school that was a tented school. We didn't have cemented floors. It was raw ground, earth ground. I had to bring my own piece of cloth to sit on the floor to that school. The fees was 11 paise a month at that time. But great learning experience because I was there from, as I said, first grade to 8th grade, and during that time, they made us volunteer to clean up the grounds in the school so that they could build the buildings. So little kids we used to go spend 2 to 3 hours a day cleaning up the bushes, cleaning up the ground so that they could build it. And that is where my volunteerism started. Graduated from 8th grade and then went to high school. I don't even want to name the high school. I can tell you the fact that I used to have teachers who came drunk to the school. It was just that kind of school, but fortunately, hard work paid off. I came in merit list of Delhi high school graduates, and that probably led to my taking physics honors. In Delhi University, we were only 40 students who were taken in Department of Physics. I did my physics honors from Delhi University. Then when I graduated, I had admission into masters and all that. But then I thought, do I want to be scientist or do I want to be something else? So I decided to get into engineering, and that is when I went to Bangalore in the Institute of Science, did my undergraduate there. Was fortunate again with hard work and a little bit of musti. We had 6 semesters and I was able to get to #1 position in all 6 semesters. And then after that was awarded, and then I received endowment scholarship to come to America. So that's my early days.
Pretty interesting. So during the tough time when it's very hard to lose father at such a young age, you said the family kept it together. What during those tough times did religion or any spirituality help you?
So religion has always played a big role in our family. My father, he was in Amritsar. He was the leader of Sthanatwasi Jain community in Amritsar. And 2 weeks ago we were in Delhi. Neeraj and I, we were there, and we were sort of facilitated and awarded for some of the things Neeraj and I we have been doing in India. Even that time, people came to me, talked about my father who passed away 50 plus years ago, came to me and said that, these are the kind of things he used to do in our community. So religious was always a big thing. But the key thing, growing years, particularly those tender years, was my mother. The most stubborn lady I've seen, but the most principled lady I've seen. She was the one who kept us together. She was the one, without verbalizing us, taught her how to live a good life.
Very interesting. So you're going through a tough time, you're doing pretty well in the education. As a young kid, you had any ambition, or it was just follow the route and things will show up?
Well, in India, it was, particularly at that time, it was different from what we have here. You go to school, you do well, there are a few departments that everybody says, you're #1, so go to physics honors. You are this, so go to that. And it so happened, this high school I went to, I talked about, honestly, believe me, I had no idea there is an institution called IIT. I had no idea that there is a thing called Science Talent Scholarship. When I went to college, when my friends told me, hey, I have this scholarship, it was embarrassing for me to learn those things. It was just, at the end of the day, hard work that paid. In terms of ambition, I think my ambition was to do good in life. To me, doing good in life is not that much materialistic, and that might have been due to my father's passing away at an early age, and sort of doing the things that we did. It was more like be able to do things that you can stand up and say, I did all right. It was not measured in terms of what's my bank balance. It's not measured by how many people know me and how many publications I have in newspapers and all that. I want to be able to stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm doing okay.
Okay, that's great. So, most of us who are immigrant, right, and we all have some kind of a story. How was it like to become the fresh immigrant? You losing your baggage, $7 from JFK to Cincinnati. How was it? Any interesting aspect which you carried through your entrepreneur successful life?
So one thing, I can probably narrate you stories for next 3 hours. It's been really interesting life.
One, the very first one which pops up in your mind.
Very first one, it's a good one, I'll share with you. When I landed at Cincinnati, as I said, I had no idea what America is like. When I landed in New York, lost my baggage, and it was like, I was like almost crying. So we had an international students advisor at University of Cincinnati. I made her collect call and I said, Mrs. Campbell, this is what has happened. She said, don't worry, just sit there, I'm going to make arrangements and you'll be taken care of. She called me back on the same payphone and said that from here to LaGuardia that I had to go and I had no money. She said, I've arranged a taxi. From LaGuardia, you take your flight. Fortunately, I had a ticket for that. Come to Cincinnati, a cab will be waiting for you at the airport. They'll bring it to you, the campus, and then you go to the dorm and at least first few days are taken care of until your baggage comes. So that was what told me what this country is. Okay, it's just, we talk a lot about India, we talk a lot about, the negativity in this country, but to me, that was what this country stood for. And then a very simple example, we were doing masters, one day we were standing in downtown at bus station, a man comes to me, literally, no questions asked, nothing, he slapped me. And he says, you foreigners come here, and this was back in 75, 76, you foreigners come here, you take our jobs, go back to your country and all that. By the way, we still hear that. My son heard that just about a month ago.
Yeah, I saw the Facebook post.
But then at the same time, another man came and defended. He says, why are you cursing this guy? He's just a young kid trying to get education, do the right things. Okay, another example, we were in our apartment, like in India, we used to make noise and all that in our apartment, had no idea that the guys downstairs get disturbed. This was probably the third week in this country. So one day at 10 p.m., we are sitting, me and my roommate, we hear a knock. Open the door and there is a gun on my head. Literally, honestly, real gun. And this guy tells me, I have this gun, I know how to use it, unless you stop disturbing me in the night. So this was, amazing stories. I've been refused food in a restaurant, by the way. So.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
So you talked about a school which did not have a paved floor, not a proper infrastructure. How was the transition from that kind of school to top-notch universities or the top university? What was the learning or the study experience?
I think it built my personality. Okay, how to face adversity. But at the same time, hold your head high that, I'm not arrogant, but I'm proud of what I do, what I can achieve, and that was the learning experience for me. So in terms of transitioning, honestly, I never had any problem in transitioning from one environment to the other. It just, maybe my expectations were low, maybe I did not expect any different, but it was always smooth.
So, Delhi to New York, New York to Cincinnati, bus station, gunpoint, good experience. Now you graduated.
Yes.
Now, what was the first job like? What was let's talk about the first job. What was the first job like, and when you saw your first paycheck, what was the feeling?
First paycheck, first thought came to mind, honestly, that I've taken money from endowment scholarship in India, I need to return that money. So we started saving for that. I had borrowed, I think $1,500 that I had to return, and started saving $100 a month from them. My salary at that time was $30,000 a year, believe it or not, after PhD. So $100 at that time was substantial sum, but we decided we have to return the money as soon as possible. So exhilarating experience that on my own, because when we were doing a PhD, my stipend used to be $250 a month. To go from $250 to about, I think it was about $1,500, it was a big jump. I bought a new car within the first month.
So that was pretty good there. But was it, so most of the time when we have heard people, right, that they say, my first job was not the first job where I decided what I want to do. So what was the turning point in career that you decided that, no, I'm not going to do a job anymore, or what I'm going to do is, I'm going to build something where I'm going to help building the dream of people.
Yeah. So I think if you really look at it, even in the first job, even in my education, if you look at it, I've taken the education as entrepreneurship also. Okay, went from physics honors to electrical engineering to nuclear engineering masters, and then almost mechanical engineering, heat transfer, thermal hydraulics for PhD. So every time I changed it, I was told, man, you're not going to succeed, what the heck are you doing? But it was like a challenge to me. And that's how I've dealt with it. So when I started my first job, within the first week, my boss, it was a consulting company called Systems Control, very highly reputed company. Out of about 300 employees, we had about 150 PhDs at that time. About 50% of the company was in defense, about 35-40% was in energy, and I was in energy at that time because I didn't have green card to work on defense projects. So within the first week, my boss took me to a client. It was Electric Power Research Institute. He said that, Praveen, we're going to bid on a project and you're going to bid your own project. And honestly, during PhD also, my professor ran out of time, or of money, so we had to bid a project with NSA, so I got my own money to pay for my PhD's assistantship as well. So as soon as we went to Electric Power Research Institute, got our first project, I knew at that time, sooner or later I'm going to be on my own. So 3 years into the company, I almost started my own. I had two partners who were working with me, so we worked on the startup idea. It was in artificial intelligence expert systems. At that time, this was 87, 88 time frame, 86, 87 time frame. So 6 months after preparing and all that, one day, one of my very close friends asked me, you are starting a company, how much money do you have in the bank? I said, $15,000. And he said, Praveen, you're being stupid. You just cannot do at this stage. So I backed off, but 6 months later, I joined that company as a co-founder. I was there. So that was my first start.
So whenever we have talked to people, they always say there are a set of evangelists or the mentors or the set of people who have impacted your life for the entrepreneurship perspective. So which are the people who helped you to start your career or help you out?
So I tell you, my first guru, and I always tell, for any person, the first guru is the mother. Okay, and that was the case with me. But even without knowing anything, I think my father, or his memory, inspired me beyond anything. I remember maybe a handful of things with him, but one of those things was somebody asked, I was the youngest kid in the family, so somebody asked him, what are you going to make him? Very proudly he said, I'm going to make him an engineer. And here is a family where nobody has gone beyond maybe 4th grade, 5th grade. He said that, I'm going to make him an engineer, and that sat with me. Throughout my life, that has sat with me that, my father had a dream for me. Then, after he passed away, our mother, as I said earlier, she was the one, I learned a lot from him. The key thing was perseverance. Don't give up. Okay, you have to keep doing things, you have to keep working at it, you'll get it. Okay, and hold your head high, be prideful, be very sort of strong in that, so I think that was very helpful. And then beyond that, I came to know Acharya Sushil Kumarji. And this was in 1979 that I met him first time. And then he transformed my life without sitting with me and teaching me anything, person to person, by his actions, by his motivation and all that. He just transformed my life just tremendously. And these are the mentors I've had in my life.
Yeah, I've seen the very first time when I came to your house, I was very impressed to see such a big murti of Guru. I did not know that the name of the Guru, but it was pretty impressive to see an American decor house with a murti at the entrance, and that was pretty phenomenal. So, you talked about people helping you during the different walks of life, mother, father, in spite of, he's passing away at an early age, certain teachings stuck with you and that made it happen for him. Now, what motivated, everyone, most of us who are here tonight are motivated to start something of your own. You did try it, but what is that one thing made you start something? Because everyone thinks about it.
Yeah.
And there's a very thin line, or I would say very thick line between thinking and doing it.
Yeah.
And what was that?
So that company, I joined that company, I think it was 86 or 87, I joined them. I was treated as a co-founder. I was vice president of engineering in that company. We used to get what is known as SPIR program projects from government. And first phase of that project used to be about 100K, second phase used to be $500,000. So I got 3 of those projects, and all 3 of them got converted into second phases of $1 million+ each. The third project I got was with actually US Air Force to simulate and analyze supersonic jets, and to be able to sort of look at the performance of those. We were into that project, and my boss comes and tells me, Praveen, you have $100,000, I can go buy a product, software product for about $10,000, you can ship it to them, they will never know, and we make a huge profit. To me, that was a big symptom that, this is not a place I want to work. I refused, and then we had big trouble back in 1990 at that time, and I had to call US Air Force project manager. I told him, I'm sorry, I have to cancel this project because I've been told to do things which I don't think are ethical. He was shocked. He says, Praveen, nobody has come to government to return a project. What's wrong with you? But I said, this is not something that, and I did that, and that is when I knew I had to be on my own. So I left that company. I was on my own for almost 3 or 4 years. During that time, I built a product that was for power plant diagnosis and monitoring in real time, so that we could actually go and alter control system settings in power plants and really change the production. Until 94, I did the development. Guys, you do probably, a lot of you guys do programming. I did programming until C++. Most of my programming was in Fortran 77, by the way. But then I built this product. This was about 2 million lines. At that time, single-handedly I did, sitting at home. Got my first customer in Sweden. Once I got that customer, I went and raised money. That company was Computing Technologies International. Raised money for that company from a VC. That's how I started my first company.
So, sounds like a young guy, new to the country, like few years into the country, working for a reputed company, just because of the ethics, living a big opportunity. So what are your guiding principles? What are the basic principles you've always worked through, and what you would like to suggest youngsters?
Yeah. So I think there are a few things that we need to look at. One is, a lot of people talk of ethics and integrity and all that. The key thing is, Can you do the things when others are not looking at you? Can you be ethical when nobody's expecting you to be ethical? Okay, I think that's, as I said earlier, I want to be able to stand in front of more importantly, in front of my kids and be able to tell them, guys, this is how we want to live. Okay, and they don't see that dad is doing something and saying something else. That was very, very important to me and Neeraj, both of us. It was very important for us right from the beginning. But coming back to CTI, I'll just recite a quick story. Within the first year, I had 7 customers. Okay, we had 3 power plants in US and 4 power plants in Scandinavia. In Denmark, we were covering half the country with our product. Okay, we were on our way to really start what is known as the virtual utility, where I was guaranteeing my customers that I will improve efficiency by 0.25% in a year, and 0.25% in a power plant, if you guys know, is about $100 million improvement efficiency, about $70 million. I said, you take 2/3 of that, I'll take 1/3 of that, but give me megawatts. Okay, so that I can create a virtual utility. You guys have heard of Enron? That is what we were trying to create with my product. So 1 year into it, great. Unfortunately, in March 1997, that was about 15 months after they started the company, I had a health episode. I had some people know it, so I'll just say it. I had a heart attack, which was emergency heart attack I had to go through, and it was an open heart surgery. Went to that because it was so bad that I was out of commission for almost 4 months. The guy who has been here, we were involved in the temple project. Company could not sustain, and here is the thing, guys, biggest learning experience. One day, I think the company valuation was $100 million because of what we were doing. 24 hours later, it plummeted to who knows what. Okay, so there is a very fine line between a huge success and not so success. Okay, greatest learning experience. Okay, at the same time, those days, now probably you don't even experience the racial prejudices. Okay, it was not intentional. That was a time when I tried to raise money. First thing, Indian, we're not going to make you a CEO of the company. I heard that. But finally somebody funded that company. But as soon as I had this episode, there was a board member who was, my favorite investor. He passed away because of cancer. By the way, when he was passing away, he called me. He says, Praveen, recite some Jain bhajan, Jain prayers, so that during my last time I can go in peace. So I did that to him. So anyway, when he passed away, his lieutenant took over, and this guy was completely colored in the sense that to him, Indian, non-Indian mattered a lot. So very first day, I was in hospital, and he started manipulating how do we remove Praveen from the company. So that's a kind of change I saw overnight that is happening. Came back, tried to recover the company. It was just too late because I was 6 months out of commission. Had to close that down. But at the same time, we were in the middle of a Jain Bhavan project. I'm going to change step a little bit and recite a story here. You talked about religion. Religion has been very important to me all my life. But I'm not the guy who goes around and does 7 pratikama around Bhagwan and all that. My religion is my own way. Very spiritual, but at least from the ritualistic perspective, I was a rebellion. Okay, I did not want to follow some of the things that are important, but that was my way, not good or bad, positive or negative, but that's why I looked at it. So while we were doing all these things in 1991, actually from mid-80s to 91, I was involved in Fremont Hindu Temple. I did a lot of work there. But then in 91, we started the organization to build Sunnyvale Hindu Temple. 93 November, actually we were 5 directors who bought the property and started building Hindu mandir in Sunnyvale. So we were fine. That mandir is doing great, by the way. It was really gratifying. But then when we were doing that, Guruji, he passed away in 94. towards the end, he just said, Praveen, go build your own mandir, Jain mandir. And that is what inspired me. And he told me, and I had no idea. So, 94 September, I was sitting at home preparing for Diwali, November 94, sitting at home preparing for Hindu Mandir's Diwali program. I got a call from the executive committee of Jain Center. They said, Praveen, we want to make you the president of this organization, JCNC. And at that time, my reply was, guys, I'm not even a member of JCNC. How can you? And people knew Neeraj, nobody knew me. So they called me over here in November. Special meeting was held, and they said, we're going to elect a president who is not even a member. But then I became a life member of the organization. So 96, I took over as president. We started the Jain Bhavan project at that time. Okay, went through the process. And then, as I said, when it came 97, my health episode took place, but I told my committee, this project has to continue. It cannot stop. But then, 98, when I decided to shut my company CTI, I said, I'm going to take 3 years off and dedicate myself to Jain Bhavan construction. So, that is when I decided I'm going to be 100% on this project. We're going to run it, build it like a company. And that's what we did. This was like a startup for us. We formed company, full committee. It was like an executive committee, ran the project. 2000, with God's blessings, we had our temple.
Very interesting. So, this is very interesting to see back in the days when people were very successful and a lot of people were, Indian people were coming from IIT and VC is not supporting them. So after health episode, after the color episode I would call it, what were the key things so you did to identify your key member? Because you were out of commission for 3 years, now you have to rebuild something to sell it. And after a break always there is an inertia. So what were the key things you kept in mind to select it?
So during the Bhavan, the only thing was Jain Bhavan construction. 14 months that we were from groundbreaking to completion, I went to India 11 times. So clearly there was no time to really do anything. During that time, actually, I think it was 98, actually another very interesting thing happened. I was invited by Governor of California. He offered me a job to become Energy Commissioner of the state of California. This was, he said, you're going to be 5 commissioners, and they are big guys, as you know, $15 billion and all that stuff. So he said, you're going to handle that. So I told him, do I need to move to Sacramento? He said, yes, for at least 4 days. I said, I can't do that. I'm in the middle of my Jain Bhavan construction project. I cannot do that. Please excuse me if I can. From San Jose, I can look at it, but moving to Sacramento is out of question. So he tried to tell me, Praveen, this is a stepping stone to get into federal government. I said, I know it, but with luck, I will get another chance. But at this stage, my focus is on completing Jain Bhavan. So 98 to 2000, there was no bandwidth to do anything. It was completely 100% Jain Bhavan construction. 2000, when we were at a stage that I thought we have made progress, we are on the right path, and August 2000 was the anniversary of Pratishtha ceremony. So around, I would say spring of 2000, I said, I need to start looking into my career now, what do I want to do? Having spent time in the utility business and seeing that they are not halfway as innovative and aggressive as I wanted to be, I said, I'm going to switch. Like I did in education, looked at various things, I said, I'm going to get into networking and security. And my friend said, are you crazy? Nuclear power plants, fossil power plants, and not networking and security. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So literally, I spent 6 months in the library doing all kind of research so that I could prepare myself to get into this field. So by that time, Jain Bhavan project was coming to the end. So I got myself totally focused on security, spent about 6 months doing all the research and everything. Then by the time we were in September timeframe, I decided I'm going to start a company. Until then, I was one-man show, and I had identified intrusion prevention and detection as the area I want to go. Around October, November time frame, I started assembling the team. Luck would have it, within about a month and a half, we got our first round of funding. We started that company in January 2001, January 2001. 2.5 years later, we exited with no revenue, with a bunch of beta customers. We sold the company for $100 million to McAfee.
That was the best one. With no customers, or beta customers, selling the best. Because right now, people are struggling with their customers. Just so you know.
I know it.
I just want to stress it on that. So, after inertia, you started to form the company, a new field. What was your worst anxiety? What was the thought kept you awake in the night on your toes?
So, here's the thing. I think once I get on a project, I make my resolution, and I'm very scared of failure. I'm very scared of number 2. Okay? I do, honestly, I just hate that word, failure. But my whole energy is spent on how do I do the right things rather than how do I fix the wrong things. Okay? So whole energy was how do we build a company. We were innovative, we were the first ones to come up with that. And we had to compete with Cisco, who had about 30% market share. And there was a company called ISS at that time, they had about 40% market share. Cisco, obviously, you know, ISS was another public company. But we went head on and we showed them, you know, what we can build. So again, very exciting times in building that company. My lack of deep understanding of that space actually helped me, because in that case, I truly was a CEO. I was not CTO, I was not VP engineering, I was not any of those. I was pure CEO looking at how do I build this company, do the best for the company.
So let's get back to, because it's pretty interesting, somebody at the peak of the career, refusing a commissioner job from the state of California, devoting all the time in the world to build a Jain bhavan. And that too also a bhavan which is dedicated to the community, and not withholding the entire in the capacity of it. What, and you talked about your Maharaj, because I've seen even your car number plate has Guru Krupa on it. How has spiritually or the learning, let me put it this way, how important is to have a guru in life, and how his spirituality or the principle has helped you?
So, I think it's very, very important, very critical to have a guru. But at the same time, you don't pick a guru, guru picks you. Okay? And I being stupid, analytical mind, when I met Guruji in '79, it took me about 10 years to really get close to him. Because in my mind, I was analyzing, I was testing, and Guruji was completely okay with that. And that is another learning experience for me, a teaching for me. Let's not follow any guru, any faith, any religion blindly. Okay? And this is the responsibility of the leaders of any organization, that you really have to analyze it, do the right things in bringing the right kind of people to your organization. So I took that much time. I was very comfortable. Guruji was very comfortable. He knew in his mind, one of these days he's going to come to me. But he never asked me, Praveen, do this, come close to me, do this. It was total volunteer. Okay? And it was around '89 when we started getting close. And then by the time it was '94, if we didn't speak for a day, he would tell me, Babu, kya hua? Why aren't you calling me? So it was just very, very fortunate thing for me to have a soul like him to guide me. And honestly, I always thought when you are with a guru or anybody, you always thought this person is going to be with you. I never spent time with him to sit with him and ask for, teach me something. Because I thought he's going to be with me all the times. And suddenly he left, then I realized there is a huge void. But then you have to learn from his behavior. You have to learn from his own experiences. You have to learn from those kind of things that guides you.
But how did you manage it? You were here all entirely during that time period. Guruji was in India. You said you met him in 79 and analytical mind could not connect with him for 10 years. But how did that long distance?
So he was in the US for about half the time. He built a place called Siddhachalam on the East Coast. He is the founder of that. That is actually turning out to be a Jain Tirth in Western region, because last year we completed a project to bring Shikharji to Siddhachalam. So he inspired many, many people. And to me, sadhu, literally, I look at it as a person you find very rarely, a real sadhu. And to me, he transformed the life for me, without saying it.
So that's pretty interesting that spending 10 years with somebody and then not knowing him well, but when he goes away after a certain period of time, you feel worried. So this is the spiritual part of it. And spirituality always helps, and there's always a guru. But how did Jainism, or the basic principle of it, help you succeed in your career?
Yeah. So I think one of the key things Guruji told me, and this is what Jainism is, one of the key things Guruji told me is that destiny is going to make you. Destiny is going to create events for you. Your purusharth, your hard work is going to make you. Okay? So what we come across in life is the result of what we have done in our previous lives. Okay? But as the things come to us, it depends on how we handle those things as they come to us. Okay? I'll give you a couple of examples. For example, he told me once, I was just sitting, he says, Praveen, any dollar that you don't deserve, nobody can give it to you. So don't blame anybody. Okay? Any dollar you don't deserve, nobody can give it to you. So don't praise anybody, including me. That's what he said. Okay? And that is something that has stuck with me. So when I went through the experience of computing technologies going under, and I knew one board member, one investor was totally responsible. I'm shutting down this company and I'm trying to set my mind, it's not his fault. Okay? He just became a vehicle, he just became a tool to deliver to me what I deserved. Okay? So there is no point hating him, and honest to goodness guys, I have no ill feelings towards him. Even when I talk negative about him, it's very objective. That, this is what happened, but that's not with ill feeling. So I think that is something that has stuck with me. Okay? When we were doing this Jain Bhavan project with two boys, Puneet was in high school, Manu was in middle school, devoting all my life to it, with not having shut down the company, with not any bank balance. Still, and first of all, I admire my wife. She supported me through this thing. Okay? But going through this thing, I had my faith. This is the project in my hand. I have been so fortunate. People have to take 10 birds, 12 birds to get a project like this. Okay, it came in our hands. We are able to fulfill it, and we'll see the future when it comes.
It's interesting. You will never get what you don't deserve. So, in last 45 minutes, we talked about your journey from expert is from the computer technology toward became a CMO, then jovial data, and I think that is what the company you exited out during 10th year anniversary.
Yeah, yep. Actually, I was negotiating during our program here upstairs.
Yeah, I know, because I overheard it that time. So yeah, I distinctly remember that was the time he exited out. And Red Sea journey been very exciting for you. It's been very successful for you. But one thing, you want to relook and say, I should have done that, and it would have made a change, or it would have taken you in this direction. What is one thing which, if given a choice, what is one thing you would like to make a change?
So I wish in this life I had opened up more with my Guruji. That's my biggest regret of life.
Okay, very interesting, because people end up saying that I might have hired a different team, but that would have given me a better choice. So let's talk about this, Praveenji, that 6 companies starting at very early career, color, racism, you have seen from the failure to success to no bank balance to $100 million company. What is the difference in corporate America in the different stages? So let's say how it was 10 years back versus what you see now.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line in any corporate world is people want to succeed. Okay, I think that's what everybody's striving for. There may be different ways of doing it. There may be different methods of doing it. I'll give you a silly example. You know, this chicken company, what is it called? It's out of Kansas.
Yeah,
So,
KFC.
2 years ago, this president and CEO stands up. We are doing great. We are cutting 50% more chickens than we did last year. You know, I'm thinking in my mind, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. Okay, but the thing is, all of us want to succeed. The ways are different, the methods are different. But corporate America, in terms of shifting from there, earlier days, it was like, and it to some extent truthful. Indians, when they come here, they are very good engineers, they are very good at, I would say in 70s, we could get up to a director of engineering, not even VP engineering in most cases. Slowly then it shifted, and then in 80s and so, we saw more and more Indians or other foreigners getting to more executive positions and doing better and better. 90s, we saw that more of us are getting into CEO position. This is a natural transition, because back in 60s and 70s, people did not know our abilities, and we did not know how to work in corporate America. Okay, so now if we still see that it still exists, but very small, amount, you can get over that easily. So I think corporate America has shifted. I think that the quality of life in corporate America has gone down. Everybody knows it. It used to be much more ethical. It used to be much more sort of fun. It used to be those kind of things. But now, because of the Wall Street, bottom line profits are overriding everything else. So we have to live within that system. So I think things are changing in that perspective. But in my view, still, this is the best place in the world for foreigners to come and do things. I can tell you firsthand, I know friends who have tried to do things in Scandinavia, particularly in Sweden. People talk a lot about, racial integration and all that, but when they face the reality, behavior is very different. This is the only country where open arms, you get full opportunity, it's up to you to succeed or not succeed. All the facilities are available.
That's great. So, a lot to learn from it. An hour is less. But we want a key mantra. If somebody, what would be your advice to somebody new just starting?
So I think as an entrepreneur, particularly if you want to get into entrepreneurship, okay, the ability to look into the eyes of defeat and get success out of that ability, that tendency, that culture, that drive is very critical. Okay, as I said, I hate the word defeat, failure. I think that's what you have to build into yourself, that I'm going to find a way to succeed. There are going to be ups and downs. Okay. Second thing is, it's always from individual perspective. The commitment is always family commitment. Your family has to be with you. Your wife, your spouse, your kids, they have to be with you. Otherwise, you won't succeed. That's very important. and then do the things in the right way. Don't look for shortcuts. Don't look for things like that. Yes, shortcuts sometimes can bring you success quickly, but it will not give you spiritual satisfaction that you're looking for. Okay, that's very important. Be ethical, and when I say ethical and high integrity, it's you looking into the mirror and saying that I'm doing okay, not anybody else saying it. Okay, that's very important. Okay, these are the kind of things, particularly if you want to get into the leadership position of CEO or any executive positions and all that, you have to be able to carry these things with confidence.
So ethical shift, do not take shortcuts, some of are the key things. So with this, what we'll do is we'll open up the floor for question and answer, and then so the mic is in the back. If somebody can just take it out and hand it over, that would be perfect. And it's on mute right now. So. So while we're setting up the Q&A,
Sunil, I don't think we can take it out. This is
Start.
the mic.
It will fine. It will fine. Oh, I see.
it just died, so you can see.
I think people can come up here and talk.
That's fine.
That's better.
So Praveenji, while people have any questions, right? One thing which we did not ask you and you would like to share with the community or at least if not, if it doesn't come anything come in your mind, right? One interesting story about the JCNC history. That's right.
Ooh, I can give you a lot of stories on that. I think I'm very proud of our community. Okay, this is a very unique community. Nowhere in this country or in this world we have a community like this. Highly motivated, united, multi-languages, multi-regions and all that stuff. So I think working this community was really exciting. But as we go through the process, there are events that happen, there are things that happen that as a leader you really have to sort of look into that. I'll give you two simple examples. One is back in 2000, I was in India. We had to go through the Digambar Pratishtha ceremony in Jaipur. So I go there and we had to build 3 murtis, 2 small ones and a big one, Gabhara, as you see on the Digambar side. So we had started, I knew that some of these stones are not going to be good, so we started on 12, 13 stones, and we told them, these are all marble makrana, and we told the guy, we'll pay for all, but out of this, we'll pick the best. So I go there, February 6th, 2000 was the Digambar Pratishtha, and I got an emergency call on 2nd, I landed in Delhi. You got to come right away to Jaipur. So I went there and they tell me, look at all the pratimas, pick the ones that you want. I liked 2 small pratimas. I did not like any of the 3 large pratimas. And there was another small one that I liked. So the guy tells me, don't worry Praveen, we'll put a 4 inches slab, asan, under the small one and it'll make it look big compared to the others. I said, that's cheating. Okay, and this doesn't work. We have to do a real murti. He said, I cannot do it. I don't have any. You've rejected all. I said, okay, let's get a stone, start carving another one. 2nd of February, believe it or not, we started carving a pratima. I told them, work 24/7. Let's get to the place when it's ready. 6th of February, 12:45 was the pratishtha time. We got that pratima in the hall at 11:30. 11:45 was the time for pratishtha. Now, this doesn't happen because I did it, but this happened because our destiny was doing it for us. We knew that this project is so precious that there will be ways for it to get done, and it happened. Then we did that, I came over here, and the entire committee, Nitin, you might remember that, this entire committee, I had signed around 10,000 cards before leaving for India to go and mail that, all the invitees and all that. I come here, all the cards are sitting there, so I asked, what is going on? Nobody would answer. I said, why didn't we mail the card? Nobody would answer. So it took me 2 days, I kept asking, finally I asked a person, I said, privately, tell me what is going on. He says, Praveen, everybody thinks you're crazy. we are in March time frame. The Pratishtha is going to happen in August, about 5 months away. There is no way we can complete this temple. Because a lot of things were undone, a lot of work was done. And they said, we are going to postpone the Pratishtha. I said, no, Pratishtha is going to happen on August 5th. That is the scheduled date. And even if we have to do it myself, I will lead it, but we are going to do it that day. So I sat with, and fortunately we had just marvelous executive committee and the volunteers to work with. I sat with the executive committee, I said, okay, rather than saying it's not going to happen, tell me what can be done
To make it happen.
by 4th of August. What can be achieved? We went through piece by piece, bit by bit. Finally, only thing that Bipin Bhai told me we cannot do is the carpeting on this auditorium. So I said, what's the problem? Okay, they said even the marble upstairs may or may not be done. I said, what's the problem? Okay, we kept the date, believe it or not, everything came together. This floor was being laid, the carpet was being laid on the 3rd of August, but 4th morning it was done. So again, it's not us who do it, it's the energy that is around it. You know, that had to do it.
Good. Thank you for sharing it. So we'll open up floor for the questions.
Okay, so I'll start. Yeah, so my name is Pradeep Kumar, software product manager. So I want to see, you know, you have amazing experiences, right? I think experiences makes a person. And what I want to see is like, you know, if you look at life in terms of decades, if you look at first 10 years of your life, you know, a child wants certain things, child wants toys. 10 to 30 years you want something, 30 to 50 you want something. And so your perspective or your definition of success changes, right? You know, we talk about work-life balance and the balance of, you know, the spiritual success, the material success, the family success, and you know, the definition of success. So what I want to know from you, having achieved so much in what we call success in today's world, going forward for next 10 years, next 20 years, what is going to be your definition of success and how are you going to define that balance? Thank you.
I think my success will be measured if I can continue to improve myself. So far, I've spent a lot of time on worldly things. I want to do my own academic, personal education and training. And that's going to be my goal. Hopefully, I can get on that path fairly soon, but that's where I want to get to.
I'm Prakash Jain. And one of the things I was kind of thinking when you were reciting your story, most of us get into a challenging situation where say we can't take the risk because you have some family obligations and your family wants to live in certain way. But looks like when you took the risk, or I don't know, maybe it's because of the first success, or at least later on you said you set up without doing anything for 3 years, and you did for the temple, dedicated yourself without doing it. How that worked out with your family and with that constant thinking that you have some obligation towards your family and yourself. And that's
So one thing I'll tell you, at least my Guruji told me, that your obligations to the family are number one priority. Okay, everything comes second. Okay, and that was very important. But then, taking care of the family is all subjective, right? To somebody, taking care of family means I have to have, 12,000 square feet house, I have to have 3 Mercedes in my garage, and all that. To the other, the taking care of family could mean I want to make sure my sons go to the best school, they get the best opportunity, they get those kind of things, and I think that's a balance you have to create. Okay, as I said earlier, I never measured my success in terms of my bank balance. It was like, the key thing is, am I doing the right thing? So you have to create a balance. That's very important.
Those who don't know me, my name is Kamlesh Mehta, and for proper disclosures, I know Praveenji really well. And I'm very fortunate and very honored that I really know him reasonably well in a professional world, and of course in JCNC world, which is highly important for me. Praveenji, there are two questions for you. One is very simple, and you don't have to think, you can just answer that question. $7 to thousands of millions of dollars you made. Are you available? We can start a company tomorrow. I will invest.
Depending on what type of company. If it's related to Jain religion, yes.
It's a fabulous story. Congratulations, really. The second thing I was wondering about the corporate world, entrepreneurship, venture world. So politics is always there. And if you believe in your faith, which is Jain values, you consistently, constantly, every moment of your life, you actually struggle in that world. And that balance, how do you actually make, and how do you know that you have a balance in that context? Because it is all very personal to you and to your faith. Thank you.
So Kamlesh, I think at the end of the day, that balance is very, very important. That's critical. And I cannot claim that I've succeeded always in creating that balance, okay? But I'm at peace because I've always given it my best shot to create that balance. Jain Dharma, if you really look at it, it touches every aspect of life, literally every aspect of life. You know, from childhood to old age, living your personal family life to running business, it touches everything, and there is teaching in every aspect of life that can be had from Jainism. I think key thing, as I've been saying earlier, knowing yourself and knowing that in your heart you are doing the right thing is very, very important, particularly when you're a CEO. Okay, this is a very tough chair, and it's a very lonely chair. Okay, you have to make decisions which could hurt a person or two persons at a moment, but it's for the larger good of a larger company. You have to understand what is your responsibility, okay, at every phase of life, not just CEO. So as the CEO, my responsibility is to make sure that this company succeeds. Okay, and I'm going to do everything possible, legally, ethically, with integrity, to make sure everything possible that I can deliver this company. Okay, during that process, you have to make decisions. You know, for example, you might have to, because of a bad quarter or bad year or something, you might have to lay off people. As hurtful as it is to people, you have to do that. But when taking that decision, you got to put yourself in those shoes, in those people's shoes. Honestly, really, honestly, you put yourself in those shoes and take that frame and say, okay, if that happens to me, how will I do? What will I do? How will I succeed? And that is when you can make a decision that when I'm laying off people, I need to give them 2 weeks, I need to give them 6 weeks so that they can survive. I'll give you a story. This was back during introvert days. I had an assistant, Angela Garcia, Kamlesh, you might even know her, very young girl. This was her first job as executive assistant. So you know, I always try to work with young people so that we can train them, we can sort of groom them, and that was the attitude I was taking with her. About a year into the company, and she had credit card to the company, she could go spend money and all that stuff, like, I mean, it was full faith. Then my CFO one day comes and tells me, you know, Angela looks like she has taken some trips to Hawaii and charged it to the company. And I said, no, that cannot happen. But I said, we are going to investigate. So we investigated, yes, she had charged the company about $3,000 6 months ago, never paid back, and took a trip to Hawaii. So I called her into my office, and at that time she was about 6 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant. Called her into my office and said, Angela, here is the proof, okay? Because you are pregnant, I'm going to be compassionate with you. $3,000, come up with a plan that you're going to pay back the company and we'll keep your job. But first thing, you have to admit that you did it, come to the payment terms, and then we will figure it out. She said, no, Praveen, I didn't do it. I said, here is the proof. You know, American Express receipts, travel agents receipts, all that stuff was there. But being a sort of egotistic, arrogant, or whatever you call it, or maybe at that moment, you know, mati mari gayi, you know, stupid behavior at that time. She said, no, I'm not going to admit. I had to fire her. Because as a CEO, you cannot keep a person who has cheated the company. If she agreed, if she paid to the terms, I would have kept her. But now she's saying she didn't do it, and I have 100% ironclad proof she did it. I had to fire her. 7 months pregnant. So now I had to really do the right thing, not for her, but for the kid. So I gave her 6 months of severance, unheard of. Almost everybody told me, I said, 3 months until she delivers the baby, 3 months after that, so that she can manage, and then she can go find a job. Gave her 6 months of severance, and let her go. But even then, Neeraj knows it, I was really suffering from inside, not because of her, I was suffering because the kid, innocent kid is going to suffer. I did my upwas. Okay, but as a CEO, it's your responsibility to do the right things. It's very important. And same thing during Jain project, for example, when we formed our initial committee, because I wanted to run it like a startup company, we had to make changes, so I did 3 reorganizations. Every reorganization, some people would get mad at me. That, hey, you're changing my job, I've done everything right. No, we have to deliver it like a startup company. I have to make change, not because I don't like you, but I'm going to give you a different job. There were occasions where one person did not talk to me for a year. I said, that's fine. When the right time comes, you will see that it was not personal, it was objective. So as a CEO, you have to make those decisions. This is one of the things I want to tell the entrepreneurs. You have to be mentally strong to make those decisions. You don't have time to dilly-dally. You have to make those decisions swiftly, but take your time to make the right decision.
So it's 8:15 right now. We'll take 3 more questions and then we'll...
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nupur, and I'm in the process of starting my own business. And I was wondering what advice would you give when I'm looking for my core team, or people, in addition to the skills that are required, what are other things that you would see in people that that person has to be in my team? What are certain qualities that that help, I guess? Yeah.
All right, number one, evaluate your personal situation first. Okay, assume the worst that could happen. Your company goes down, you don't have any money, assume the worst, multiply that by 3. That's going to be the reality, honestly, to prepare yourself. Okay, it's very important. As a founder, as a leader, you are at peace with you. You're willing to take chances, you're willing to go up and down. Number one. Number two, building the team. Okay, number one, very important thing is the chemistry. Okay, can you trust each other blindly? Okay, can you really work with them? Okay, number two, and it's 1A, 1B type of thing, not in a priority, intelligence, integrity of that person. If you have strong, intelligent people and you have to make changes, they will go with you, they will do it. But if you have people who pretend to be smart, but who have weaknesses, it's not going to work with you. Because those weaknesses are going to come up sooner or later. But that doesn't mean you should not look for the specialties of your job. Yeah. Okay? You have to look for the specialties of your job. But I would say if it's at 100 that you need specific sort of job requirements, if the person is super intelligent, bring that down to 70. The 30 will be taken care of by that person. Smart, intelligent, hardworking, high integrity. You will win.
Okay. Thank you. And the offer is still up if you want to start a company tomorrow.
Thank you. My name is Nitin Shah, And I know Praveen Bhai since the temple was started, so I worked very closely with him from that time. And I have seen all these years how Jainism is important to him. How much everything that he does, there is an essence of Jainism in there. And to the point that I have seen that there is really, he is giving us all a message that there is Jainism in entrepreneurship, and we should use that as much as possible. Praveen, I have a simple question for you. Why is that not commonly followed? Why do you think that people don't follow the simple principles of Jainism in everyday, not religious aspects, but the behavior outside of religious? I mean, do you think it's just the ego that people are playing in this, or do you think that it is just that they don't pay attention to this?
I think, number one, you have to spend time and you have to go through the experiences to really understand the value of those propositions. A lot of these things that we take missteps, they come from insecurities. Okay? Even if you look at your anger, your ego is driven somewhere or the other from your insecurity. When you are secure with yourself, you will do the right things. Okay? And that is what Jainism teaches us. Okay? You have to be, when do you become secure? When you know that, as I said earlier, any dollar I don't deserve, it's not going to be mine. Nobody can give it to me. Any dollar that is not mine, nobody can give it to me. Now, translate that in a bigger way. Any prestige, any name, anything that you don't deserve, not by your deeds, but by your karmas. If you're not going to get it, nobody can give it to you. So keep doing what you're doing, but make sure what you do today is going to help you tomorrow. You'll see that you are more at peace with you. You'll see that you are more enjoying your life. You'll see that you are more confident of yourself. That's important. And many times when we are going through the life, and this is what we forget. When we start lying, why do we lie? Because we have to hide one thing. Why do we have to hide one thing? Because I'm insecure. If somebody came to know reality about me, what are they going to think? Okay, so these are, it's just Jain religion. If you look at, if we go beyond making circles around Pratimajis or doing things like that, if you go beyond that, look at the philosophy. It's just amazing, amazing, amazing philosophy. Okay, if we adopt only maybe a millionth or 10th millionth of what Mahavir Bhagwan told us, that's good for us. I think that's what we need to go for.
So, I also want to just publicly mention here that for last 2 years of my presidency, he was my top advisor on every step I took in the Jain Center. So those of you who don't know, any problems, any issues, I used to always call him, and somehow reality always sets in. So thank you, Praveen bhai.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Premji, namaskar. I've been involved with this temple from August 2000 during the Pratishtapana, and I really appreciate the stellar
A little louder, please. A little louder.
Oh, I've been involved from August 2000 in this temple, and I have really seen the stellar service that you and the executive committee has done. I remember right here in the big tents here, the mayor of Milpitas said, you guys Jains have put Milpitas on the map of United States. That was a stellar statement. I do have a question. Sometimes we talk about Jain values. In the American corporate world, sometimes the thin line is not so clear what's ethical and what's not ethical with Jain values. So, particularly when you are in the senior position, like you are in the CEO position, how do you kind of make sure that true Jain values are being followed while being in that corporate chair place?
Okay. So I think one thing is, what all of us have to understand, we are not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here. Okay? We are going to do our share of mistakes. Some of those mistakes are going to hurt others, regrettably. But then, if that happens, you have to accept that, you have to own it, you have to go back and say, I did a mistake, I'm going to correct it. I'm going to be careful next time. But then coming to that fine line, I think at the end of the day, if you are either confused or you are indecisive as to what you want to do, meditate. Okay? Free yourself from worries. Honestly, okay, if you meditate without fear, okay, fear in the sense, if I did this thing, this is going to happen, I will lose $100,000, I'm going to do this, people are going to blame me and all that. Remove those fears. If you clear yourself of fears, meditate over that, a solution might appear. Okay? Other than that, talk to a teacher that you respect. Talk to a guru that you respect. Get their guidance. Okay? Those are the kind of things that will help you. But the answer in most cases is within you.
Sure, thank you. I just have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Most of the first generation Indians who have come here, most of us here, have some drive, have a good drive to do something towards entrepreneurship, but we are all held back by some sort of fear, like family, like taking care of things, setting up that financial security, things of that nature. Do you have any kind of quick advice that you can give that can kind of make many of people here and jumpstart and do something?
So in terms of financial security, there is no reason to be fearful of that, right? You can do the best you can do. Okay, you have to plan, be realistic. As I said earlier, think of the worst situation multiplied by that 3. Can you live with that? Okay, if you're a stupid like me, you will still take a chance. Okay,
and succeed.
Okay.
So in short, are you saying people should be stupid to be successful?
No, but you have to be in these decision making. You have to be analytical. You have to be very careful. Don't do anything to show off. Don't do anything to prove to somebody. You have to prove it to yourself only.
Yeah.
So I think those things are very important.
Sure. Thank you so much for the great advice.
Hey Praveenji, so I have one question, it's a simple one. Like, what do you do one thing differently in your day-to-day life which is different than a not successful person or a person who is trying to find success? There is one thing which is
One thing that I do that a person who is trying to be successful
he
is
doesn't
not
do.
doing.
Yeah.
Neeraj, help me.
So that person can, become successful. by
I
doing
think in one thing, I'm very strong self-analytical person.
that. Okay.
Okay, that helps a lot. My family tells me, my brain works 24/7. Probably that's even in my sleep. I think that's true because I'm looking at various angles of doing things and then figure out. Even then we do our own share of mistakes, but at least I have the satisfaction. I thought it, I gave it my best shot, and then whatever happens.
Okay, thanks.
सुनील भाई 3 क्वेश्चन तो हो गए हैं
आपके लिए तो चलेगा
थैंक यू सो मच
दिस इज द लास्ट
ओके जय जिनेंद्र प्रवीण जी एंड फैमिली आपके साथ काम करते हुए मुझे काफी टाइम हुआ है और मुझे कुछ सीक्रेट्स आपसे पूछना है सो like many meetings
this is recording, okay? This is getting recorded.
That's fine. So I got the permission from him, then only I'm going to ask. So many meetings we work together, and many times we see that heated exchange, many times we see that arguments, many times we see that our argument is not sellable. So how do you manage your cool in the odd situations and still come, just like you said that you don't want to be on the second, you wanted to be. So how do you manage this coolness? Where do you get this kind of strength during those odd situations? I have seen many times you have done this successfully.
Yeah. So I'm still learning, by the way, to maintain my cool. I'm a short-tempered person. That's something, if somebody asks me what is my weakness, I would say that's my number one weakness. I'm short-tempered. And many times when I do things in short temper or act, I regret it later on. But when I regret it, I repent it in my own way. But in terms of, I think your question, the secret is, as I said earlier, you have to be honest to yourself. And you have to understand that you're not going to be correct 100% times. Because if you are correct 100% time, you wouldn't be here. Okay? So when we are going through this thing, we have to pay attention to what others are saying and adjust ourselves accordingly. I think that's the key thing. You have to be able to adjust. Many times when you are making the adjustments, people don't realize you are making adjustment. My wife will tell you that. But you have to try it to make the adjustments. I have to tell another.
Can I ask one last question? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So before just one more thing. So sorry. So I just wanted to know, like, I also respect Guruji Sushil Muniji, and what is the one message you would like to give it to all of us from him that you learn yourself?
That's a very important question. I think I said earlier, I don't know, Yogesh, if you were here at that time or not. Your destiny is going to bring you things. Okay, things are going to come in your life. Various, you're going to get into forks all the time. You're going to, get into those decision points all the time. Things are going to come. Destiny is going to bring it. And we Jains believe destiny is, previous many lives. All these karma that you have done, they are showing up in this life, one way or the other. But how you handle those, okay, you have to be ready to put in honest purusharth in that. Okay? Once you put in your honest purusharth, you can be at peace with you. I think that is the key thing I would say that I've tried to adopt. I don't succeed all the times, but I try my best to follow that principle. That whatever comes in my way, failing a company or for example, when a company fails, I don't become too sad. When a company really succeeds, I don't jump in joy because, this is just moments that happen. But you have to be able to stand up and say, I did my honest purusharth. That's very important.
Thank you for taking the last question. I'm Mahendra Doshi. I've already written 2 books about Indians, and I'm working on my next book. Is called Trailblazer of Bay Area, and you are really a trailblazer. My question to you, Praveen Bhai, is I've read so many about early Indian pioneers in Bay Area. They always have one person, a mentor, a guru, who really inspire him and aspire him to achieve the greatness. And I know you have mentioned Guruji, but there must be other than Guruji in your business wise who aspire you to do great things.
Okay. I think at the end of the day, I would still say Guruji inspired me the most, but another person that I have really followed, that person, and I've learned a lot from that person is Mahatma Gandhi. Honestly, not many young people our age or younger people think it's glamorous to say that you like Mahatma Gandhi or you respect Mahatma Gandhi. He's my idol. I mean, he moved mountains, literally, because of his own resolute, because of his own, but what he did was purusharth. He lived what he said what he lived. So I think in terms of this monetary or business related successes and all that stuff, to me that just comes, okay? You feel you have obligation to fulfill to the family, you have obligation to do things, and that is why you do business and all that. So I think these things just happen, but in terms of mentor and all that, I think that is where my guiding light has been. Okay, before we end, I want to, one more interesting story I want to share. This was back in, I think, 2008 during pollution. We had a Muniji, a monk, visiting us, Lokesh Muni. He wears that mukpatti, a cloth on his mouth, so that he does not inhale any insects and all that. So he was wearing that, and I started from home to bring him to the temple. It was an Escalade, so it was a gangster car to start with. So we leave our home, I take the freeway exit. Without knowing it, I mean, I'm knowing things are happening behind me, I have no idea. So we come here at a traffic light, just before the Jain Bhavan traffic light on the main street. I'm standing at the traffic light with red light, and I see one car, cop car, on this side, another cop car on this side, 2 cars behind me, and then 2 cars on the opposite lane, 2 cars on this side, and then the cross street blocked also. Around 15 cars, blocked everything. And Neeraj was doing her attack. She was sitting in the back seat, and I asked her, and Muniji was sitting with me. So I just made a comment, I don't know, what is going on? All these cops are, stopped all the traffic, what is going on? Traffic light turned green, I started, and a bright light shines on me, and a cop comes on the speaker, on the loudspeaker, and says, "Take your car to the right and stop there." Okay, I thought something is going on, maybe accident or whatever. I turned to the right, and then they said, "Open your door." I opened the door. When I came out, there were at least 25 cops from Milpitas Police, San Jose Police, CHP, all 3 departments with guns drawn. Okay, like we see in movies, they open one door and through the window he has this gun pointed at me, and they said, "Come out." I came out. Then I said, "Turn around." So I turned around my back to 2 cops. They asked me to move back, and then suddenly one cop comes and handcuffs me. Okay, so I'm just still don't know what is going on. And we had a sergeant who is a very senior official in police force. I started asking him, "What is going on? At least tell me." "Shut up, don't talk." They searched me. Obviously there was nothing except for a cell phone. And they asked me, "Just wait." And then they asked Muniji to come, and I told them, "Don't touch him. He's our religious priest." And I told them not to touch my wife because she was fasting at that time. She was doing a time. So they took me, stuffed me in their back seat. It was like a criminal. And it was a back seat, very suffocating. And I, being a heart patient, I had started having problem. 10 minutes into it, and it appeared like 2 hours, they opened the door and said, "You want to come out?" I said, "Yes, I want to come out." I came out, they made me sit on the curb. I still am asking them, "What is going on? Tell me." "Shut up, don't say anything, we are doing our investigation." 10 minutes later, so in the meanwhile, I started having problems, so they called the ambulance. Okay, the ambulance was there. And in the meanwhile, somebody coming to the temple saw it, and we had a whole crowd of our community people standing there just to see what is going on. I don't know if you were there or not. But anyway, it took us 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Finally, they realized they've done a serious mistake. Okay. They asked me, "Should we take out your cuffs?" I said, "What the heck are you asking? Open it." Okay. They took it out. Then I asked them, "What happened?" Okay. They told me as soon as I got on the freeway, because the monk was sitting with me with his mukpatti, somebody reported, and an Indian called the police, and they said that there is a kidnapping. Okay. Literally. The cops started following us from Capital Expressway exit on 101 South San Jose. They started following us for the next 10 minutes. I was surrounded by cars. I had no idea because I had nothing to suspect anything. Then we come here, they converged, all of them, and they said that it's a kidnapping report. So they took me out, they did all these things, and at the end they told me, "We were very kind with you because within 30 seconds we realized this was a mistake." Then the chief of police of San Jose, we called them because when I came here, we had about 250 people or so because of the evening lecture. Everybody started telling me, call San Jose Mercury, call San Francisco Chronicle, call KCBS, we need to report this. This is a discrimination and all. I said, guys, we need to figure out what's going on first. So we called Mayor of San Jose, we called Chief of Police, and we told them the problem, and they apologized, and we asked the chief to come here next day. Next morning he came here 3 hours. We spent the time with him, familiarized with him with the culture. Now again, community is asking, we need to report it. I said, guys, we need to have something good come out of it. Okay, so after all these things, the chief asked me, what do you want us to do? In order, we have done a serious mistake, what should we do? We said that this is an occasion for you guys to train your police force about Jains. Okay, because we are different, we asked him to come to our pollution program. He came, the chief of police with 3 of his lieutenants. They came here, they videographed and all that. We asked them to do that, and we want you to train your police about Jainism. Believe it or not, guys, and Girish Bhai was leading that project, by the way. He did a phenomenal